it, it helps me too. So
that's amazing. For those of you who don't know, this is Tamara Mannen. She is a rock star at Fidelity National Title here in the Galleria. She was assistant team leader for a huge brokerage back in the day. She's been a coach forever. I swear she could be my life coach. She probably is, and she just doesn't know it for free. But she's an amazing person to connect with. She brings value every single day to her clients, and we're so lucky to have you help our group.
thank you, Amanda, for the nice introduction. And I have to say, I'm really excited to be here, and I wouldn't be in this chair today, and none of us would be here today if it wouldn't start with the beautiful dream of Miss Carol Payton Young over there, who raised me, who was my coach. I met her when I was 24 years old, and it changed my life forever. So thank you, Carol. This is an honor to speak with you today.
Well, you're more welcome. I love to see you flourish. You keep getting, plussing it every year.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I've never had an original thought. Everything I've read or heard Carol say. So I'm excited to be here. Can we go ahead and get started, Amanda?
Let's rock and roll. Let's do it.
Thanks for the great introduction. We're going to talk about, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this all came together. Before we do that, with Zoom meetings, sometimes it can be a little bit more trickier to engage. We've got a nice, intimate little group here. I really highly encourage you to just jump in. If you want to ask a question, I'll probably stop and ask to share every now and then. I've just noticed to be really, like, I want you to get the most value out of this, and a lot of this particular topic can be most powerful when you share some experiences with it. So the topic today is, it's the 4 stages of an extreme life disruption. And, you know, when I was talking to Amanda, it's like, well, what is that? Well, I'm going to share a little story how it all came about. When all of this happened, much like everybody else, I was literally had to find a way to do business in a way that I've never done before. I had 4 walls, a phone, and a computer. A lot of my business, much like your business, is meeting with people, engaging, doing speeches and appointments and consulting, and all of that came to this screeching halt, right? And one of the brokers from a very large company called me and said, Tamara, we would like you to speak at our meeting. And I said, great. And usually years past, like Amanda said, I was a team leader for, gosh, 10 years of my life. And I've done coaching and speaking. I mean, that's my gig. Put me in. Let's go. And I asked the broker, I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? And he said, you know, we just need some Tamarism. We just need that energy, like, just come. And I got off the phone with him, and I found myself in an awkward place. I had no idea what to talk about. I couldn't even dream up, what am I supposed to say? Because quite frankly, I don't know what to do. And I don't know what's happening. And one thing Carol Payton taught me from a very young age, validity is everything. So anytime I talk to a group of people, I want it to be rich in content, but I'm always valid, right? I'm not going to stand up and talk about something I don't know about. And here I was in this place where I don't know anything. All I know is that I don't know. So I have a business coach who's a corporate business coach, and I've given Charlotte Law is her name, and Amanda has a little bit of her bio, but I won't bore you with all the details, but super intelligent. She was a team leader for many years. She was also in a title in my position. She's a published author, and she's had her own very successful coaching company for 16 years, and she coaches all different industries. So she coaches real estate, she coaches in pharmaceutical companies, oil and gas, international. And one thing, again, and this is not just a Carol Payton bragging now, right? This is true. This is the same story I tell everybody. We know that residential real estate tends to run about 5 years behind corporate America. And the reason that it's like that is because in corporate America, when they adopt or integrate technology or certain trends, you either do it or you get fired. That's how that works in corporate America. In the residential real estate industry, you're independent contractors, entrepreneurs, and it's a very experience-based industry. So they don't tend to adopt those things until needed to. So they run about 5 years. So I called Charlotte Law and I said, I don't know what to talk about. And she goes, well, what do you want to hear? And I said, Charlotte, you speak to all of these other organizations, and I know this about real estate. I want to hear from you. What are your clients? I mean, you coach CEOs and presidents and sales and different companies. And it was very interesting. And this is how this all came about. She said, Tamara, one thing I'm going to share with you is that there's 4 stages. This is through her research over about 8 weeks and talking and discussing and coaching. Boil it down to 4 stages. But one of the things she said, and this is how this came about, is she said, for years, we've been preaching and teaching, coaching and consulting and walking on coals and the power of the mindset and how important that is to succeed at a high level. Yet we do have people that succeed at a very high level that just don't buy into that. She said, you know, but we know that success leaves clues, and it's been proven to be more successful. When COVID-19 hit and the world shut down, she said it created an absolute, no longer is it a great suggestion in order to stay at your level or succeed in this industry. It is a necessity. The mindset is a necessity. The growth, the development mindset. And she said the people that have adapted that already before, meaning people like the people in this room, read books, into coaching, into development, they were just adapting to this new way of life much quicker and much stronger. I found that to be interesting, and I also was like, yay, I have hope. Because one of the things they say when you have a crisis like this, it separates the pretenders and the players. And I'll be perfectly transparent. I had my moments where I was like, separates the pretenders and the players. And then I thought, what am I, a pretender? And I didn't know it. So what she shared with me, one, is that the development and the mindset is critical in not only just surviving, but thriving. And then also you're going to see a huge difference in about 18 to 24 months. So it boiled down to 4 stages. And what she said is this is an extreme life disruption. And for the first time in history, it's happening at the same time to everyone. So it's a universal feeling. And there's 4 stages. And I'm going to concentrate more so on the last 2 because that is where, quite frankly, a lot of depression or anxiety can come in, and we really need to talk about it. But the first stage was shock, just complete, utter shock, a disbelief, and no way is this happening. This isn't happening. This is America. This isn't happening. And the second stage was the doing phase. This is where everybody started doing stuff. They were overstocking. You were at the grocery store. I mean, I'm one of the only people in America, I guess, that all my children didn't have laptops. I mean, we didn't. I had to borrow a laptop from my little brother. I had to get the girls on computers. I had to get set up remotely. We had to do layoffs immediately. I mean, the whole world was in this doing phase. Then stage 3 comes. Stage 3 and 4 are what I really want to talk about today. Stage 3 is the testing phase. The testing phase is where when we realize we can no longer function the way we used to because it's all changed. We had to do things differently. And what was that? And in the testing phase is critical because the testing phase can create a lot of, there's a lot of defeat in it. There's a lot of setbacks. And the reason that is for instance, the example, like if I had never done a Zoom before, it took me 4 hours to figure out how to do a Zoom, okay? There was all sorts of technology and fidelity that we utilize, but I don't because my numbers are good. I don't need to do that. Well, I was now in a position to where my CRM may not be up to date, but my numbers were good. So my boss knows I'm working, my team knows I'm working, but now there's a boss and a boss and a boss, and they don't really care about your personality, you know? So the testing phase, everyone was learning a new way of doing business. Zoom meetings, presentations over Zooms. It was going back to technology. Lots of people were saying, okay, I'm going to take this time to do my website and to get my CRM up. And what does that look like? And the research and all of the testing phase. So once we started testing things, let me back up real quick. Again, like I said, this can cause some frustration because anything is hard at first, right? It's always difficult at first until you know what you're doing. So continuing and not giving up and throwing your hands in the air and walking away was a difference maker. Okay, the fourth stage, which I think we are still, and I just talked to Charlotte for kind of an update because this kind of came about pretty quickly into it, about 8 weeks into it. I think we're mostly bouncing between stage 3 and 4, and I'll let you know why this is so relevant. But the fourth stage is the now what? Okay, now what? Now what do we do?
So run it back for me. Stage 1, pop quiz. Stage 1.
Shock.
Stage 2.
The doing phase.
Stage 3.
Your testing phase.
And then now what?
4 is your now what. And why this is so important, guys. And so when Charlotte explained these stages to me, they helped me personally. And then I shared it with somebody else and it helped them personally. And then I had a very top producer literally in tears. And she said, you know what, my BS, and she is a top producer, has been doing it for 20 years. She's a strong, woman. And she goes, it's just not working because I don't know. So the thing about these stages that's important is one that we know that no one knows. No one knew. You couldn't grab Jeffrey, who did 50 million last year, and say, hey, what's going to happen? Or Laura Sweeney, who did 80 million. She didn't know any more than you knew, or I know. No one knew. No one knows. So the fourth stage is the now what stage. Under the now what stage, there's 2 more stages or 2 phases. What do you do in the now what phase? And again, let me back up real quick. I kind of skipped over where this started to help people is not only did it help them with their own business and internally understanding what's going on and the mentality and the tools, but they were able to talk to their buyers and sellers. So there's this amazing universal opportunity where we can have really hard, honest conversations and bond with each other like never before. So like this one top producer, she's like, Tamara, I've been doing this 20 years. I've never, when they look at me and they go, what are you going to do to sell my house? She's like, virtual tours? I mean, she's like, I don't know has never been an answer that I had for my clients. And these 4 stages helped her to have dialogue with them with the I don't know. And you don't know. And Carol doesn't know. And Jeffrey doesn't know. But this is what we do know. We do know there's 4 stages. We do know there's a testing phase. We do know that the now what phase. The now what phase is where most people are in. And there's 2 tools to dealing with the now what phase. And it's surrendering. One is just surrendering to it is what it is. And you don't have control. And we can spend multiple hours and times in politics and going back and forth and not that those things are not important, don't get me wrong, but the amount of emotional energy that you can find trapped in things that you can't really control, it's overwhelming and consuming. And again, this is a time where everyone has felt this. It's not, everyone's had life disruptions, but we go through them on our own. We go through them in our own world when others aren't. And this is a time where everyone is. And being able to share the psychology behind it and understand that it's no longer frou-frou, affirmations, all that development stuff. It's scientific that the people that are into self-development, discovery, and understand these processes are just doing better. And they're going to adapt quicker. So in that now what phase, it's the surrender. It is what it is. And moving forward and being kind to yourself. One of the things Charlotte said, and I've been sharing this with lots of different brokerage teams, And it's, again, it's so universal. A lot of people, when you're in that phase, there's the should haves. So everybody should have them on themselves. Don't should have on yourself. So when all this happened, people were like, I'm going to, from a business perspective, I'm going to get my CRM together. I'm going to get my website. I'm going to get a YouTube channel. And then on a personal side, I'm going to clean out that garage. I'm going to get the kids' playroom. I'm going to get all this done. And then 3, 4, and 5 weeks went by and it wasn't done. Anybody have an idea why that is, why it wasn't done? Why a lot of people had a universal should have, I was going to, and now I feel like, you know what, because I didn't. Anyone want to share?
I think it's so easy to always have that excuse of, I don't have time. And then it's like a slap in the face when you finally do have time and you just didn't prioritize it. It truly wasn't important, or you just didn't do it.
So Amanda, bingo, winning. So what she said with that was absolutely it, that even a pandemic doesn't replace bad habits or avoidance behavior, which we've spent years creating, right? We're still having to do what we don't have to do. So in the surrendering part, where you understand it is what it is, and you understand that it wasn't, you know, we get caught up in, I didn't do it and now it's too late. You have control over the next hour of your life, the next 5 minutes. You can't change the last 5. So she said, knocking it down to getting over the should haves and starting fresh every day, starting fresh every hour. I'm going to choose to make this choice today, which is working an hour on my database, calling 10 people to connect. For me, one of my biggest ahas and takeaway with her is, she said, Tamara, take advantage of the opportunity where you get to do your job for once. You get to do exactly what you love, and that's connect, right? So we weren't calling and asking, hey, Amanda, I know the world's shut down. You got a contract you can send me? You know, it was people that, whether I work with them or not, I was able to call them and say, how are things going? And share these 4 stages and share the tools. So the surrendering was the tool under the now what. And by the way, guys, this is a consistent thing. You don't just do it once. It happens when you understand that life has changed and it is what it is. And now these are the things I have to do. The second one was to practice sincere deep presence. So what she said was letting go of the fear, letting go of the what ifs, and with your clients. Mine are real estate agents like you. Yours would be your buyers and your sellers and your SOI, and connecting with them on a real present level. Being present with your children. I've been very vocal about this. I didn't realize until all of this shut down how much time I didn't spend with my children, how much just being present because the rest of the world was just not accessible. Practicing those things and really taking advantage of the opportunities to learn and grow from the situation. So what that boils down to is, at the end of the day, one of the things she said to me that was so powerful that I feel like has been a universal message, and I would love for anybody to jump in. But when she said, and by the way, Tamara, this is not new. This isn't because of the pandemic. These are the 4 stages of an extreme life disruption. And she goes, and yes, this is a crisis and it's a life disruption, yet it's not even close to the other crises or life disruptions that you've been through. Now, this is a personal, or this is a business coach. So if you've ever been in coaching, they get deep, they know all your stuff. What she was sharing with is perspective. Life disruptions can be financial. Life disruptions can be divorce. Life disruptions can be death. And in all of those situations, these 4 stages happen. And in the last 2, the tools, when you go through these stages, the tools that you learn to adapt and change your life and do differently, and even the experiences that you learn from the extreme life disruptions, whether you get bitter or better, is a difference maker in coming out of an extreme life disruption. So before I move forward, I just have a couple of questions just to get some, does anybody relate to this? Can anybody share something that those 4 stages or you felt yourself in, or anything you would like to add in this time? Anybody? I'm gonna pick on somebody I know, a bunch of you.
So what stage do you think most of us are in now, or did you already explain that?
Someone wasn't listening? No, I'm just kidding. We are bouncing back typically between the 3 and the 4, and you're gonna keep going back and forth because the testing phase, we've gone through the testing phase and there are certain things, and then we're coming back in stages, but we're still having to test, right? And then going back into normal world, which real estate is my job's very similar to what you guys do. You guys are looking for buyers and sellers. I'm looking for agents with contracts. Also adapting to going back to whatever our new normal is and not letting go of the good stuff that we have learned. So time on task, time blocking, those things that when you realized you had to do it and you didn't have any distractions, how to push those together. But the now what phase, I think we're gonna be in the now what phase and the testing phase for quite some time. But the point of sharing this is really the tools that you take under the now what, and being able to have these conversations with your buyers and sellers, and being able to have these conversations because, again, for the first time, we're all in an extreme life disruption at the same time. And one thing I know from coaching and consulting and in my own personal world, that perspective is everything. So when you understand that this isn't even close to what you've been through, because I've talked to lots of people in coaching and consulting, and everybody has a story. You know, and not to get too personal, but quite frankly, this is what I've shared with the world. And I'm going to be real vulnerable and transparent here, guys. Was wondering whether I would share with this particular group because you're so close to home. And then I thought if I didn't, it would be not authentic. And so I share this for a reason, not to be self-indulgent, but my life today looks very different than the life I grew up with. Jeffrey is my little brother, and our lives today look very different. We come from 2 parents. We from a family of addicts. We were homeless at times. We've been through some stuff, and I think when you look at Jeffrey, or you look at Amanda, or you look at myself, you don't see that. You don't know that, right? And we moved to Texas, did great. My little brothers, I had 3 little brothers. We're A, B, honor roll, basketball. And then we had a tragic loss when my brother was 17 years old. He was in a car accident and didn't make it. I'm sharing that not to be dramatic. I'm sharing it because you want to talk about an extreme life disruption. You go through something like that. And we had to go through the shock, the doing phase, the testing phase, the surrendering phase, and then the what do you take from that and what do you share, and either getting bitter or better. And it's something I'm really very proud of. And again, harder to share here because Jeffrey's right there. Mikey, who we grew up with, is right there. Yet it's critical to share the message that I hope you leave with today is you have that story. I mean, Teresa has that story. Jace has that story. It's a different story. The circumstances or story, Mikey has that story. But we all have the story. And here's the thing I know to be true. And this is what I took away and the message I hope you take and can share with others. Through everything, you have evidence that you survive and then you thrive. You survive and then you thrive. If you ever told me I could have walked away from that situation 17, 18 years ago and watched my brother and his amazing team build this successful group and be passionate about sharing it with others and helping others to grow, and that I would be where I am and we would be able to share these things as a story of hope and evidence, I would have never told you I would have that perspective. But I wholeheartedly do. And so, again, not to be anything other than the true message of these 4 stages. Everybody's going through this. And when you take the opportunity to connect with your buyers and sellers and remind them that they have a story and that they've been through a lot worse, and we suit up, we show up, we adapt. And it's scientific. It is not the fastest and the strongest. It's the most adaptable. And when you can adapt to life circumstances and take the good, that's going to be the difference maker. And y'all, I mean, it's going to be the difference maker in businesses. I got to tell you, I'm going to share this. Every morning I go through the new listing report. Here's another thing, off the press, by the way. And it's true in my own experience with my coach. I go through a new listing report. And for the last 4 years, I can typically it's about this, you know, it's a lot of the same people. And I got like 14, 15 people, the same names. All of a sudden, there's all these crazy different names that I don't know. I mean, that's just Tamara's observation. And in talking to Charlotte Law, she said, what we're finding is the people that succeeded at a high level at a certain time that got used to that, and they weren't doing their lead generation and they don't practice development and they were just riding the high, they're struggling big time. And the ones that were doing that work before or have that passion and that desire right now, they're on it. It's like this opportunity that a lot of people are gonna miss. So thank you wholeheartedly for allowing me to share that with you. And my hope today is that you take this and are able to somehow help you and or help others. And then just having the conversations. And one more thing, you get to a point where I kind of think this week, I don't know about y'all, does anybody feel like they're just kind of over it? Anyone?
I miss my happy hours.
It's just, they're over it, right? They're just kind of over it. So when I talked to Charlotte about sharing with you guys today, I said, is it even relevant anymore, Charlotte? I'm kind of over it. I'm ready, you know? And here's the thing that she said, and this is why I wanted to do this so badly, is it doesn't work that way, guys. It's not just over, right? You're gonna have to work on these stages and these different things and phases in your life over and over and over again. And so being conscious of that and sharing it with people and having the opportunity to really connect, and just remember that you've been through other stuff and came out better, and there's your evidence. And so I hope, does anybody have any ahas? Anything they want to share? Any phases they think they're in? Any questions?
Oh, that was good. I'm learning to use my story to fuel, you know, the motivations of other people, which is pretty neat. You don't realize the effect you can have on someone, whether it be a buyer, seller, or even another person, until you can try to emotionally connect to them on any level or whatever. So to stop looking at your buyers and sellers as clients and start looking them as, you know, mothers, fathers, daughters, whatever. It's a little bit different mindset shift. But I think doing that and relating to them on any level, well, whether it be an emotional level, instead of just, you know, I'm an agent, you're the client, I'm Jeff and you're, you know, Bob or whatever. So using that to fuel other people's motivation is something that everybody should try to do. Work on your why and your story, and use that to either attract people to you, attract buyers and sellers to you, find talent, stuff like that. So it was pretty neat.
It's the connection and it's the vulnerability. And that's what Charlotte was saying. We are in this opportunity where we can really capitalize, for lack of better words, on practicing that. And that goes a lot further. The author, what is he? His name escapes me. Anyway, he's a big author. He's great. I can't think of his name.
M. Night Shyamalan.
That's him. But
Do it.
he said the actual people skills and the emotional intelligence in this time is going to play a very big role in the amount of successful people. So, you know, and I think it's a great opportunity to ask people, like you said, and what you guys do, share that, you know, sometimes when you see the magazine, right, or the agent here, you don't realize there's a whole background story. Mikey and I have had great fun conversations about that and his life and what he and his wife share and what they have together. It's very different. And you got this whole group of good old fashioned East Texas people that we've seen in our trailers, right? And here we are today. So it was an honor to speak with you guys, and I hope you were able to walk away with some stuff.
I love it. I'm still taking notes. I love how you said growth mindset is no longer optional, it's necessity. I think that a lot of people, like you said, just kind of coast through life, and having to be forced to be in that testing position, that phase of let me try something new. I think we're all going to walk out with new ideas and apps and technology and just like a refreshed business. I think we're doing things differently in a good way. And I don't know if we would have changed if we didn't have to.
No, that's a wonderful point. In fact, one thing that they know that what COVID has done is it's really just sped up the process. I mean, like for instance, I have no skin in this game, but EXP, it is a completely different model. It was a brokerage model that is a wave of the future, and then all of a sudden something like COVID comes, you better believe people are reevaluating their models and their systems. And whether you adapt to them or not, the I don't have to and the pushback it's going to be a deal killer for some people. And